What is up, everyone? Marissa here. I just wanted to jump on here because I have something special to share with you. So, my goal, my mission in life with helping people is that I want to help women, young women, 20, 30, who are busy but adventurous, really take control of their lives, take control of their energy, take control of their confidence, their strength, and that adventurous nature. And one of the ways that I do that is through nutrition. Nutrition really guides you through life. It really helps you feel just have an overall higher sense of well-being. It in itself helps you gain energy, and really fuels you and guides you through life. A lot of people have like different viewpoints on food, but in most cultures, food is a center of a lot of community and a lot of gatherings, and it's also a way to fuel your performance and fuel you through all of the different things that you want to do in your life. So, one of my missions is to help you gain energy and take control of your life through food. And some of the ways that I do that, I just wanted to go over today. So, the first way is you have to be self-aware. You have to know how much you're drinking, what you're drinking, whether it's water, coffee, tea, some other sort of beverage, and then what you're eating. You really need to know how much is going in your body, what is going in your body, what is the quality of that food, because without self-awareness and without knowing those things, it's going to be really hard to change anything else in regard to food. A lot of people go around and they say that they're intuitive eaters and they do all these things. And I think that that's great, but every once in a while, you really have to check in with yourself because you could be eating too much. You could be eating too little. If you're going through stressful time in your life, or if you're going through rigorous activity, it's really important to know and just check in with yourself to see what you're actually fueling your body with, because even if you are buying high quality foods or high quality water and that sort of thing, without knowing how much is going into your body, you may or may not, you may be over fueling yourself, which could be causing sluggishness. It could be causing cognitive deficits, just like memory impairment or brain fog, or just feeling overall like this sense of heaviness in the body. And if you're underfueling yourself, you might be feeling pretty good in the beginning, but eventually you're going to start to get fatigued. You're going to start underperforming. You're going to have less energy. You're not going to be able to take control of your life because you're physically too fatigued to do that. So, self-awareness is a really important key in starting this journey or in progressing it, because sometimes if you're been on this journey for a while and you haven't checked in with yourself and you haven't made yourself aware of what you're drinking, what you're eating, how much, and you're kind of just doing like the same thing over and over again, then your needs and your goals have possibly changed. But if you haven't changed those other aspects, then nothing's really going to progress for you. So that's really the first step. The second step is going to be self-awareness in how those foods and how those beverages are making you feel. So once you understand how much you're eating, the quality of the food that you're eating, what's going into the ingredients that you're eating, if you're not eating just whole foods, which is totally fine, especially because a lot of life, like if you're under unnatural demands going on 30-mile hikes, then obviously you're going to require unnatural demands for your body. So there's nothing wrong with that in certain cases, but if you want the most energy and you want to maximize your presence in this world and your ability to take control, then you really want to focus on that quality and those ingredients. So once you've done that, you want to take stock of, okay, well, I know that I'm eating this much now. I know that I'm drinking this much, but let's see how it's actually making me feel. Because even if you say that you want to maintain right now, or you're feeling pretty good and you don't really want to change anything, and you realize how much you're eating, that goal or that what you're eating, the amount that you're eating, it might still not be where you want it to be. And that's because of this self-awareness piece, right? So like if you feel pretty good, there's always this ability to feel better, to have more energy, to have more control. And I think that first comes with realizing what you feel like now, and it's hard to realize that you could feel better if you're feeling pretty good or if you felt this way for a while. So that's why my second my second step in doing this is really taking stock and ownership in how that amount of food, those quality foods, or each individual food is making you feel. So what I want you to do is, once you've taken the steps to figure out how much you're eating and the quality of the food that you're eating, I want you to start being more aware of the symptoms that your body is giving you. So your body is giving you a report card every single day, whether it be from your digestion, your elimination, what shows up on your body, like on the outside, how you feel on the inside, how you are cognitively working. All of those are signs of how well you're doing and showing up in the world. And so what I want you to do is, once you start tracking, start taking notes of what is making you feel a certain way versus not a certain way. So if you go and you eat breakfast and an hour later you're angry and you're moody and like all these different things, then that's something to take note of. Like, okay, well, why am I feeling this way right now? Is it connected to the food that I'm eating? And maybe the next day eat that same meal and see if it does the same thing. And then, like, maybe you eat something for breakfast and you were like on it, you're on fire, you're at work and you're like, man, I just did all this work in like an hour, and usually it takes me like 3 hours to do this. Take note of that, because that's a really good sign that those foods are fueling you right. There's all kinds of signs that your body will give you. So if you aren't regularly eliminating, not just peeing but pooping or defecating, every single day, it doesn't have to be at the same time, but should be every day. And if it's hard, if it's not easy to pass and it's like long and easy, then that's another sign that your food isn't doing the best that it could be doing for you. So you really want to be on the lookout for that. How are you pooping? How are you sleeping? Because sometimes poor sleep could be an indication that the food that you're eating is not fueling you well. It's not giving you the right information. A lot of people say that food is fuel. Yes, that's right in certain senses, but it's also information. What is that food telling your body to do? And if your body is showing up in a way that you don't want it to, that is a sign that the food is giving your body the wrong information. And it could be the water, because different qualities of water do different things in your body. If it's dead water, I'll go through that later, but if it's water that's not optimized, then it's not fueling your cells properly. Like, we take in water, yes, to stay hydrated, but we are trying to hydrate our cells. If we don't feel alive, if we aren't vibrant, if we aren't energetic and really take on this vitality in our lives, then it could be stemming from the water that we're drinking too. So you really need to just, it really starts from this self-awareness and being aware of how you are showing up in the world today. And I would suggest doing this for at least a week, maybe two, and get some different foods in there. You don't always have to eat the same thing, but the problem is, a lot of times, as the food, like our digestive system, it takes about 4 days for food to be eliminated from our bodies. So sometimes those symptoms that one food might be causing might not show up for 24, 72 hours. So you really want to take stock in that and be like, okay, well, this is why I'm tracking. 3 days ago, I had this food, and today I'm feeling like this certain way. So maybe it wasn't that breakfast in the morning that was causing you to be moody and groggy or like have really bad brain fog. Maybe it was that food 3 days ago. So sometimes keeping it simple, keeping it the same every day will be helpful for you in understanding what a food is doing in your body. Because if you change it up too much, then it's going to be way too hard to pin down. And that could be a good thing. That's a good thing of elimination diets, is like you're trying to get to the simplest thing possible so that you can see what your body's actually reacting to. But that's not for this conversation right now. Elimination diets would be way down the road, and we're working on foundations right now. So the first two foundations in making your life better and upgrading your nutritional strategy so that you can have more energy and take control of your life is first these two pieces of self-awareness. How much you're eating, how much are you drinking, what is the quality of the food that you're eating and the ingredients in the foods if it's not a whole food. And then second step is self-awareness of how it's actually making you feel, how it is helping you or hindering you from showing up in the world right now. So those two are super, super important. And honestly, like I wouldn't move on from those until you get it really down. Like this isn't something that has to be rushed. Self-awareness can take a long time to really feel into your body, especially if you haven't ever done it or you've pushed yourself outside of your body and are just like living day to day and not really taking stock of the moment and how you're feeling. It can be hard to internalize and feel the feelings that we're feeling, but this is different than feelings. This is like, how are we physically reacting? How are we cognitively reacting to the foods and the water and the beverages that we're drinking? So those are steps 1 and 2. Step 3 is going to be, once you've taken stock into how much you're drinking, try to start increasing the amount of water that you're drinking. So you want to be drinking about half your body weight in water every day, but you also need to make sure that you're drinking enough water to add back in the water that you've either lost from sweat or from breathing. Because so a lot of people think that we just lose water from sweat and obviously urine, but we lose a lot of water through talking, through breathing through our mouth. And so if you're a mouth breather, if you're talking a lot during the day, then you can be losing a lot more water than you actually think you are and be a lot more dehydrated than you realize. And when you're in a state of chronic dehydration, it's hard to figure out like, oh, no, I'm good, like I'm hydrated versus no, I'm really not. Like sometimes when you're chronically dehydrated, those messengers in your body kind of turn off the thirst sensation so that it helps you survive. Because when you're chronically thirsty, it's like it's really hard to do anything, right? And that's one thing in endurance sports and stuff like that, is your hunger, or not your hunger, but your thirst mechanism gets messed with so that you don't necessarily have to keep drinking more water and more water. So that's the first thing, is trying to make sure that you're drinking enough water. But the second thing is really, like I said before, taking into account the quality of your water, because water is different. It can be dead, it can be alive. Water is absolutely amazing. It can honestly take the shape of anything that it's around. So if you look at pictures of like water pictures, essentially what it shows is like, okay, if you say love or sing love or gratefulness or gratitude towards your water, it takes these like crystalline shapes and it looks like little snow flakes. But if you're like rude and mean and angry to the water, it's like all disheveled and it doesn't form a picture and it looks like really terrifying. And first of all, I just want you to think about that. Like water can take these different shapes. There's this one water experimenter who, she puts glasses of water on tops of pictures and then puts a microscope into the water to see, and takes pictures of the water like under microscopic environments. And the water is actually taking form of the picture and it looks like eerily similar. So it's not like this like kind of like, oh yeah, maybe it looks like that. No, it's like it looks like that for real. Or like if you say tree, sometimes it could form a tree, or like all these different freaking really amazing things. So like I just want you to take a second and just think about that. Your water can take form of something. Like how powerful is that? Literally, like sometimes I think, if water can take form, maybe that's how we can create memories. It's like the water is constantly moving through these different pathways in our brain and it's actually forming the pictures of the things that we remember. Like, how crazy would that be if that was true? But it is true that water can take form based on the information that it's given. So water is literally carrying information. When we drink it, it's carrying information into our bodies. So I just want you to think about that for a second. Like, okay, you've got the amount of water down, like, okay, that's easy. But like, what about this is like only one other thing of water, and it's like everything. So I really want you to think about the quality of the water that you're getting. Like, stop drinking tap water. It is literally killing you. At least do some reverse osmosis. But the thing with reverse osmosis is, yes, the water is pure and it's clean, but it literally has no minerals. And one of the easiest ways for us to get in minerals is through water. We did it when we came from the sea, and now we have all this water that is tainted and it's chemically cleaned and processed and like all this crap. So like all of the minerals that our body needs, our body literally runs on vitamins and minerals. Yes, we have macronutrients like carbs, proteins, fats, but like none of that will work without its cofactors, which are vitamins and minerals. And there's 78 trace minerals that our body needs. And if you are cleaning the water, there's literally no minerals in them. So that's the first thing, is make sure you're drinking clean water. But the second thing is make sure you're remineralizing it. And an easy way to do that is with salt and with those electrolytes from the salt. But you have to have a high quality salt. You have to have something that is not tainted. So a lot of people these days are doing the Himalayan sea salt, except the thing is, Himalayas are not in the sea. This is like a mountain salt, and it's so processed now that they found arsenic in it. So like, think about that. You really need to pay attention to, this has come back to self-awareness and being aware of what's in your products, is the cleanliness and the quality and the sourcing of your salt. So really high quality sea salt. Make sure you're looking for some testing. Make sure you're looking for like where it's coming from. Make sure you look for whether or not it says if there's trace minerals or anything like that in it. A lot of the good sea salts will show you their testing to show you the breakdown of the minerals in them. And if you don't want to do all that work, like, come to me and I have all of those resources, and I'm always trying to find more. So if you find a salt and you're like, I don't really know, what do you think about this? Just let me know and we'll discover a new one together. Or I'll let you know like the easiest ones to find in like almost any grocery store. So that's the second thing, or the third thing with water, is making sure it's clean, making sure it is remineralized. Two other really good things about water is you can change the form and the shape of it through the sun. So not all of us can like put our water in the sun all the time, so that's where like a really good water filter can come in and put infrared and stuff on that. But the easiest way to do that is just bring some water outside, let it sit in the sun for a little bit, then throw some ice in it so it's cold if you don't like warm water, and then that'll start to change the shape of it and the form of it as well. Last thing with water and making sure your cells are maximally hydrated is making sure the water is structured. So the easiest way to do this is with a frother. Literally like one of those coffee frothers, you just like froth the milk in. Just get one of that and you'll create a cylinder or a mini tornado, I can't think of the word right now, into the water vortex. You'll vortex the water and it'll help align and restructure the water, which is really amazing. There's honestly a lot of really cool water structures out there right now. Some use crystals, some use like, I don't know, like all these sorts of things, but to be the most cost-effective water frother is, or a frother is like one of the easiest things that you can do. I do have a special saying that you could say to all your water. So if you want that, it's like super simple. Nobody needs to know what you're saying to the water. But it's in, oh no, I'm blanking. It comes from Sanskrit, I believe. But it's like this really, really beautiful saying. So I'm gonna be sharing that with you guys after the video. But yeah, so Then we've got self-awareness. So we've got self-awareness of how much you're eating, when you're eating, the quality of the food that you're eating. Then you have self-awareness for how that food, how those beverages are actually making you feel and how they're helping you show up in the world or hindering you from showing up in the world in the way that you want to. Now, the fourth step is making sure you're eating enough protein. Basically, everything in our body runs off of something called amino acids, and those are the building blocks of protein. So basically, when we're eating protein and taking protein in, what we're really doing is trying to get those amino acids into our body so it can build us up, and help us maintain if we are trying to cut. But the thing about protein is pretty much every single cell in our body has some form of protein or another, and it's required for our DNA. It's required for making new DNA and sending different messages. It's like a messenger in our body. It helps with neurotransmitters. It's part of the neurotransmitter, which is our brain chemicals, which helps us show up better in the world, helps us take more control, helps us energize ourselves even more because we are having the right neurotransmitters and brain chemicals being built in our brain. Obviously, it helps us build muscle, maintain lean muscle, which carry us through the world. And not a lot of people, or not enough people, are eating enough protein. For whatever reason, especially women, I found that they don't know how to get in enough protein. So this first comes from knowing how much you're already eating, and then second, knowing how much you need to eat for your goals. So a general rule that I really always use with people is just eat 1 gram per pound of body weight. Now that could change a little based on your activity. It can change based on how much you weigh and how much you want to weigh. A lot of the times when you're trying to lose weight, it could be more beneficial to eat more protein, not than body weight, but like percentage wise than carbs and fats, because it'll help keep you satiated, which is an awesome thing about protein. It really keeps you satiated because it's just so hard for our bodies to break down. It takes a lot more energy to break down the protein than really any other source of food like carbs or fats. So keeps us satiated longer, which means it could keep us going longer. We can focus on the things that we really want to focus on longer rather than like coming back and always being hungry. So really just trying to make sure that you're increasing the amount of protein that you're eating, and then also making sure that you're eating high quality proteins. So a lot of people I've found that I've worked with tend to stay with like low fat Greek yogurt, egg whites, chicken, turkey. Yeah, those are good and they can taste good and be really good in certain meals and recipes and things like that. But they're not the highest quality, they're not the biggest bang for your buck. And if you really want the most nutrients and the most bang for your buck from your protein, I would highly, highly suggest starting to eat more red meat, beef, steak, and switch up your proteins and your red meats. So try lamb, try bison, try venison, try all these unique different meats and games, to really test out and see what you like. And that's the good thing about bison and venison is like they're very, very lean. So if you're like trying to be cognizant of that, then those are something that I would start to look out for. The other thing is a lot of these gamey meats, and then also even cattle, they carry a lot more nutrients than chicken and turkey, but they're also like less processed. So even in the cattle industry, like the cattle industry is so terrible, and a lot of the cattle that we get, it's just not good quality. But the good thing about it is regardless of their diet, it's easier for us to get benefit from them because of they have 4 stomachs, so they can break things down a lot easier. Now, if you're not buying like grass-fed and grass-finished beef, then it's probably going to have a higher percentage of omega-6s. And if you have too much omega-6, too omega-3s, then that's what's going to start causing inflammation in the body. So we want to avoid that, but at the same time, I would rather have that cattle than like that chicken that grew up on top of like 12 other chickens and is like eating each other and eating not only corn but like trash and just not raised in a really humane environment. Like, I don't want to support that at all. Plus, like, they're just injected with hormones, like all these other things to make them grow bigger. And like, really, like, you don't want that in your body. Like, whatever's going on in their body, it's going to happen in your body if you're eating it. So like, that's really stressful conditions, which means that their cortisol is super high, which is a stress hormone. If their cortisol is really high and then you eat that, that's going to make your cortisol go high. So you really, really don't want that in your body. Like, so even though chicken is lean, like, do you want the lean meat that is like stress the fuck out and gonna make you stress the fuck out? Or do you want a little bit of a fattier cut that's gonna give you a lot more nutrients because of that fat? I mean, it's like, really, there should be no question at all. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, or you gotta do what you like. But if you do like chicken, you do like turkey, like, I mean, I do, but you just gotta find the high quality stuff that's like pasture raised, organic, not only cage free. Like, honestly, if you're gonna eat eggs, make sure it's pasture free. That means that they have like all of this land on the grass to roam around. They're not in cages, they're not on top of each other. That's the thing with cage-free animals, cage-free chickens, is that even though they're cage-free, like, that really just means that their cages are open, they're still living on top of each other, and they're still in like really shitty environments. So an indication of really good egg quality is the color of the yolk. The more orange it is, the higher quality it is. And I found that Trader Joe's pasture-free eggs are probably some of the orangiest color that I've found, actually. So yeah, that's my tip on protein. Like, make sure you're getting really, really high quality, because then you're gonna have to eat less and get more out of it. There's some really, really good companies online now that send you frozen meat that are part of like regenerative farms, which means they have really healthy farming practices. They don't till just the topsoil, they move their animals around. They're making sure the soil is really high quality, so those are all really good. All of their animals are grass-fed, grass-finished, which is super important. You need to look for that grass-finished, because if they're grass-fed, that means they could have been grass-fed one time in their life and they can claim that. So that's the other thing. For pork, I don't really want to go down this, but pork is like super, like the lowest quality you can possibly get, because pigs will literally eat anything, which means a lot of those pigs are fattening up with like trash and shit like that. So do you really want that in your body? Like, I don't think so. No, I don't. So if you do like pork, because pork can be really delicious, you need to find something wild, something that is heritage bred, which is a style of breed of the pig and how they raise the pig, so that it's or the boar, it's very, very high quality, acorn fed. So you want to look at like their diet can't just be vegetarian fed, because literally if it's vegetarian fed, that means that they can feed it soy, they can feed it corn, like all of those things are monocropped. Like, stop looking for the vegetarian fed, start looking for like the acorn fed, the really, really specific things that the pigs should be eating. Yeah, so for protein, make sure you're increasing the amount that you're eating. And a lot of people are like, how do I do that? Like, I don't know how to increase the amount of protein that I'm eating. I feel like I'm eating so much already. First of all, that comes back to awareness. Like, how much are you eating at each meal? And if you're not eating a lot at each meal, like, literally just increase the amount of protein that you're actually already eating. So like, people are like, oh, well, I need to get in like 2 protein shakes to eat the amount of protein that I need in a day. And it's like, how? I literally have 3 meals a day and I'm struggling to lower the amount of protein that I'm eating. So increase the amount of protein that you're eating per meal. Make sure you are measuring your raw weight, because basically if you're cooking like steak and stuff like that, you're losing about 25% of it. So that means if your cooked weight is 3 ounces, the raw weight is actually 4 ounces. So make sure when you're putting it in your tracker, you're tracking the right thing. And then secondly, just try and increase maybe like 1 ounce or like a fourth of a cup in the first week or like the first 2 weeks, and then just slowly increase it from there. And you should find that it's pretty easy to get to your goal protein weight. Now, people on the higher end, it might be a little harder, but there is a range of protein that you should be eating in a day. So, like the general range is 0.8 to 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight, and then some things do 0.8 to 1.2 grams per lean body mass. So if you need help and you're struggling with getting in the amount of protein, then I recommend trying to start with one of those ranges and then try working your way to 1 gram per pound of body weight. Because the thing is, there's a lot of there's two protein researchers in particular, Danielle Lyon and then her mentor, I can't remember his name right now, who are like in it for the longevity, really want to understand protein so that people can live longer. And they found that it's not as meaningful to go by weight, but it's more meaningful to go by volume of blood. And generally, regardless of how big you are or how small you are, so like I have the same amount of volume of blood or like similar amount of volume as my husband, who is like 6 foot tall, 200-pound man. So, and I'm a 5 foot 320-pound woman. So, that's per feeding that we can actually break down and utilize in the body. So like if you're eating like 15 grams of protein right now and you're like, oh my gosh, like people always told me that I can't eat more than 20 grams. Like, no, it's actually like your body can utilize up to like 50 at a time. The other thing is you can use essential amino acids. Like I talked about in the beginning, protein is made up of essential amino acids and non-essential amino acids. And that's what we are actually taking protein in for. So if you're having trouble with that, the essential amino acids are honestly really awesome because your body doesn't even have to digest it. So like if you're having digestive issues and you feel like certain proteins aren't digesting very well and you don't know how to get in other proteins, that can be a really good option for you because it's already pre-absorbed and it doesn't add more calories. I would honestly highly suggest that over BCAAs because essential amino acids have all 9 essential amino acids that we need instead of branched chain amino acids just have 3. So like BCAAs is basically like flavored water because having all 9 essential amino acids plus all the other amino acids that are non-essential, they're going to work together as one and feed off of another one. So if you want to like think about it like as a stool, for example, like you need all 4 posts in order to keep the stool up, otherwise it'll fall over. So if you're only taking in, or if you only have 3 of them, you're going to fall over. So that's kind of like the BCAAs is there's 3 of 9 essential amino acids. So really look into essential amino acid supplement if you need to. The other thing is I love bone broth. It's huge for gut health. That's one of the things we need to address, and I'll be getting there soon, but sorry. But bone broth is a really easy way to get in more protein. And the cool thing is like you literally don't even have to drink the bone broth. Like I'll put bone broth in smoothies, can't even taste it. Put bone broth, make soups out of it. I cook my rice in it. I cook other meats and stuff in it. That way the food that I'm eating is absorbing the bone broth, and then I can take it in that way. I do enjoy drinking bone broth though, and I got a few tonics recipes for that. So if you're in the mood and want some more bone broth recipes, that's coming at you in my recipe book, which I'm super excited about. It has all the things in it. So, but yeah, so that's another easy way to get in protein if you feel like you can't get in more protein. A lot of the times I like to start my day with a bone broth after my daily water, which is a really important thing when you're trying to increase water and increase energy in your day, is starting your day with actually drinking water. All right, so we are through 4 now. That was, we start increasing our energy and taking control of our lives by actually being self-aware of what we're doing, self-aware of ourselves, obviously, and what's going on in our body. So starting with self-awareness of how much we're eating, how much we're drinking, what we're eating, what we're drinking, the ingredients, the quality, all of that kind of thing. Then step 2, we go into self-awareness of how all of those things are actually making our bodies feel. So you notice my first 2 steps, I'm not even taking anything out, I'm not putting anything in, just asking you to be more aware of what's going on in your body. Then step 3 is when we actually get into adding things that are going to be beneficial for our energy and taking back our lives, or taking in better control of our lives. So we're adding in water, we're adding in energy and information, because if you remember, water carries information, which is like mind-blowing, right? But anyway, be grateful for your water, love your fucking water, because it will love you back. Then step 4 is making sure you're eating enough protein. If you're not, you need to increase your protein. If you don't know how to, I gave you some really good ideas. Increasing it, what you're already eating in your meals, making sure you have high quality protein, because then you don't always have to get in more because you're getting in more quality. Essential amino acids, bone broth, all that kind of stuff is awesome to add. And look, I didn't even mention drinking a protein shake. What? Okay, anyway, so step 5, this is when we start to cut out the shit. Cut out hydrogenated oils. I will say added sugars too, but it's more essential that you cut out added hydrogenated oils and seed oils. So these oils are highly inflammatory. They're highly, highly processed with terrible chemicals, really high heat. What those things do is they break down the stuff that we're actually eating. So think about this, like, let's say I bought a TV stand, and I was like super excited about it. I was like, man, this is gonna make my house look great. Like, put my TV on it, but then all my other books, and it's gonna make my home feel so homey. And then I open it and I'm like trying to put it together, and it is fucking absolute garbage. I'm like, it looks like it came out of the fucking garbage. So you take that scenario and you put it into the seed oil. Like, you're so excited. You're like, yes, I got this oil. It's going to make my food taste so good. It's going to keep the pan from being sticky and stick to my food and all that kind of stuff. It's going to like really, really help me out. But then you get it and you open it. You can't really see it, but it is there. It's just absolute garbage. All of the chemicals in it are broken down. They're all like deformed. They're not actually in a form that our body can use. So then, like, it goes into our body, and the fats that we eat literally make us up. Every single cell in our body is surrounded by a layer of fat. That way it can be semi-permeable to let certain things in and let certain things out. So let's think about this scenario. You're going to okay, let's just say the White House, because I was going to say the kingdom in England. But anyway, so you're at the White House. You're like, man, this is so cool. Like, oh my gosh. But then there's like this fence around it. And you're like trying to see in, and like, but there's like tons of guards and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute. Like, what is with this area right here? And there's like, it's not a regular looking fence, like it's all like muddled together, and you're like, I can literally just touch this and it would fall over. Like, what is going on with this fence right now? There's not even a person or a guard here. That's how these seed oil fats are making your cells look. They're literally deforming it, so it's not a circle or an oval or anything like that. It's like all spiky or like deformed, and there's like all these weird things going on with it, and then it can't pass through your body really easily. So it's like this cell needs to go to your brain, but it can't pass through because it's like this weird shape and it doesn't fit. Oh, here's another metaphor for you. So like when we're younger and we're learning to put the shapes in the shape holes, it's like trying to put a circle in a square, you know? So it doesn't really work like that. So that's what these seed oils are doing to you when you put them in your body. They're making up your cellular layers and then fucking you up. So it's creating more inflammation in your body. So start looking out for all of these seed oils that are on the labels, when you go out to eat, usually all of them use seed oil, so ask for no oil, possibly butter, but maybe just steam it. Basically all fried foods are cooked in these fucking terrible oils, so avoid fried foods. There's a list of seed oils that I would definitely avoid, but it's probably easier just to tell you which ones are good to include. So good to include for cooking: coconut oil, avocado oil. Make sure that avocado oil is high quality because lately those have been found to be rancid, so just make sure you're looking out for that quality. Extra virgin olive oil, same thing. Make sure it's high quality. It's got to have a taste. It's got to have a little bit of spice. Otherwise, it's probably not a legit olive oil. Let's see, I wouldn't cook with that one. That one's good for like a dressing. Maybe you could put it, if it's like a super high quality, you could cook with it. But I would honestly just like put it over vegetables and put it in the oven instead of like frying things in it. Let's see, I said coconut oil, ghee, butter, and butter, like raw pasteurized butter is really good. I would keep going with those or start using that, especially for cooking in. Some things that you can use that you don't cook in but can put in as a topping would be like sesame seed oil. Make sure again it's high quality. Macadamia nut oil is pretty good. And then there's this one company, I'm gonna have to remember the name because I can't remember it right now, but they started using a particular process to break down some of these seeds and some of these really, really good nutrients. I think like they have a saffron seed oil or something like that. So they found a different process to break down these seeds, and it's not high heat, it's cold pressed. They don't use any chemicals. I can't remember the name of it, but they've got some really high quality seeds. I'm gonna find that and I'm gonna share that with you guys because those type of seeds can be really, really healing for you, but only if they're high quality. So that's the next thing that you have to do, is make sure you're cutting that shit out so that your cells can actually fit into the circle hole, because you want to fit, right? Maybe you don't want to always fit into like the crowd and stuff like that, but you want to make sure your insides fit into your insides. You know what I'm saying? Okay, anyway. So that was step 5. So we started with self-awareness. We're taking control of ourselves, of our confidence, of our energy by making sure we know how much we're putting in our body, what we're putting in our body. Then we're taking stock of how that's actually making us feel so that we can have more energy, so that we can show up more vibrantly in our lives. And then making sure you are drinking enough water, making sure that you're hydrating properly. I didn't get super into like all these different things that you can add, but just making sure you're having like a really high quality sea salt. Add it to your food. Don't use table salt. Add it to your water. Get a Trace Minerals. That's a brand, Trace Minerals, that you can drop into your water so you're not having like super salty water. But yeah, making sure you have high quality water, enough water, and making sure you're getting those minerals into that water. Step 4 is making sure that you're getting enough protein, high quality protein, making sure that you know how much you need to be eating for you and how much you can actually eat per meal. And I told you that like 50 grams of protein can be eaten at any meal generally for most people. But if you're not cool with that, if you feel like, man, I'm like not even hungry anymore, like break it down into smaller meals. But generally I find that 3 meals is really good. There's all types of nutritional strategies that we could be getting into, but like general thumb, just making sure you're eating that throughout the day. That's going to make you feel satiated, help you show up better because you're not thinking about food as much. Then you are cutting out those seed oils, those oils that are making your body all inflamed and swollen and gross and feeling all heavy and yeah, you all know what I'm talking about. You all woken up with like swollen fingers and you're like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, that's probably the seed oils. So we don't want the square hole in the we don't want the circle in the square hole. We want the circle in the circle hole. Anyway, so next step is gut health. So, and reducing inflammation. So we already talked about a couple ways actually to reduce inflammation. Make sure you get higher quality protein. Make sure you're cutting out the seed oils. Next step would be cutting out the added sugars, not the natural sugars, but like all this dextrose and maltodextrin and dextrin and like there's like 50 fucking different words for added sugar. Like, just cut that shit out. Like, you don't need it. Eat some natural sugar. You're gonna stop craving it once you cut it out. Your life's gonna be so much better. You're gonna have so much energy. You're gonna be like, what the fuck is going on? I feel so good. Anyway, so yeah, that will help you decrease inflammation. So you're not waking up with swollen fingers and swollen bellies and like swollen faces, and you're gonna feel so good. Your body's gonna actually be able to eliminate stuff. Oh my gosh, you're gonna feel so, yeah, you're gonna have so much energy. You're gonna feel like, man, what was I even thinking before? I wasn't feeling good at all then. I feel so much better now. Anyway, so gut health, bone broth, making sure do not have to add probiotics yet, especially because there's like 50% of people in the world, maybe 60%, who have like some sort of gut dysbiosis. That doesn't mean you have IBS. That doesn't mean you have IBD. That just means that you might be having too much bacteria in your gut. You might have candida, just a little bit. So we got to take care of that stuff. And if you have like those higher end things like IBS or something like that, or SIBO, excessive bacterial overgrowth, then it's not always going to be the additions of food. Sometimes you got to eliminate stuff, and we're going to be getting into that. But if you do have SIBO, or if you suspect you have SIBO, I would honestly look up a SIBO questionnaire and be like, oh, do I have these symptoms? If you have a majority of those symptoms, what I would do is start by following just a carnivore diet for a few days, then go low FODMAP. Low FODMAP, it just means, FODMAP stands for 6 different types of sugars. These are naturally occurring sugars in different foods, such as certain fruits, certain starchy vegetables, that you want to be looking out for, even in certain nuts and seeds. And those can all cause bloating and like stuff going on because it's exacerbating certain bacteria that are in your gut. So that's what I would look into first. If you don't think that you have that, but like you're like, I never worked on my gut health, I probably need to do something, start with that bone broth. Then introduce some colostrum. That's baby's first milk. I know that sounds weird, but it has a lot of protein in it. It can also help you grow muscle if that's what you're looking to do. But it's going to really help heal the gut. It's one of those kinds of foods where it just, it's really good at closing up tight junctions in the gut. So there's that. You can also look into something called Mariva, which is a supplement, naturally occurring ingredients in the supplement. And then glutamine. L-glutamine is an amino acid, but you can get it in singular form. Yeah, that's honestly where I would start with the gut health stuff. And then honestly, it's like different for everyone. So those are like the main things that I would start with. And then making sure you're keeping down inflammation. I know it sounds like I am trying to keep you from your favorite foods and keep you from going out to your favorite restaurants and stuff like that, and that's not it at all. I want you to heal first. That way you can show up with as much energy as possible. Then when you go out to those places, you're like, holy shit, that food was good, but holy shit, the next day, how do I feel? I don't know, we'll see. Sometimes you feel like shit. Sometimes it's like, oh, your body's so healthy that you can take it. But yeah, you never want to just like continuously overload the system with that. So that was the first 6. I've got one more for you all. So let's break it down one more time. So we started with self-awareness. We're entering our journey into taking back control of our lives, or taking more control of our lives so that we can have more energy, be more vibrant, have more adventures, even if we're busy. Like, these things can all be incorporated into a busy life. So start to be more self-aware. And honestly, if you don't like being busy, then being more self-aware can help you realize all of the things that you don't need to be doing, so that you can take time to actually do the things that really matter to you. But that's a topic for a different day. So anyway, we're starting with self-awareness. How much are we eating? How much are we drinking? What is the quality of the food that we're eating? What is the quality of the beverages that we're drinking? Coffee included, but let's start with water. Then we are taking stock of how all of those things are making us feel. Are we groggy? Can we not focus? Are we like just not mentally there? Are we fatigued? Are we like not recovered when you go into the gym or go for a run or go for a bike or whatever you do for your activity? You're like, man, I just do not feel good for this right now. Like, I need to do something else. Maybe it's your body fatigue. Maybe it's your mental fatigue. There's different ones. Maybe you're just not recovering the way that you need to be doing. All of those things are important. How's your digestion? Do you feel heavy? Are you feeling light? Those things will matter in how you show up in the world and how energetic you are. Third thing is hydrate optimally. So not only how much you're drinking, what is the quality of the water that you're drinking, are there electrolytes, are there minerals, all of those things matter because we are hydrating the cells, we are feeding our body information. Next thing is make sure you're eating enough protein. Eating enough protein so that you stay satiated. You're feeding your body the best that you can with the building blocks that will help continue to guide you through this life. Once you are making sure that you're good on eating enough protein, eating the quality protein, then you're moving on to cutting out those seed oils, possibly the added sugar, but probably just starting with the seed oils, making sure you are not putting the circle holes in the circles into the square holes. We want to make sure the circle fit into the circle holes. Pre-K. Then we're making sure that systemic-wide inflammation and gut health are on point. Again, high-quality water, high-quality protein, and cutting out the seed oils will all help with reducing that inflammation. And then also cutting out the added sugars with the 50 different names that nobody knows how to pronounce, or we do know how to pronounce, but we're just like, what the fuck is with all these oses? Anyway, and then adding in some of those high quality foods that will help with our gut health, bone broth colostrum, L-glutamine, Mariva, all really, really good. If you suspect you have SIBO or some sort of gut dysbiosis, taking a questionnaire, you could potentially take a test, but a lot of those tests cost like insane amounts of money and they're probably not even that effective. So if you feel like you're answering all these and you have all these symptoms of this certain gut dysbiosis, it might just be better to treat it in general, but that's a more specific topic for a more specific training. So the last thing is making sure you're eating enough to fuel your body for your goals. And that comes from understanding what your goals are. Are you trying to lean out? Are you trying to get leaner, get some body fat off and change your body composition? You know, you can change your body composition by also increasing the amount of muscle that you have. So are you gonna bulk? Or are you good where you're at and you're like, I just want to maintain, maybe I do want to change my body composition, but that can come from the nutrient timing, which is a separate framework in itself. So knowing how much you need to eat. Literally, there's tons of free calculators online. Just look up TDEE, that's total daily energy expenditure. Put in your weight, put in your height, put in like all your demographic stuff, your activity levels for the day, and it'll come up with your maintenance calories, and then a lot of them actually help you figure out like what's your cutting strategy versus your bulking strategy. And I'm going to be real honest with you guys, it really honestly depends on how much you're eating right now, because if you put all that stuff in and it tells you that your maintenance is 2100 calories, and if you want to cut, you need to start by doing 1950 every day for a week or something like that, but you've been chronically eating 1200 calories, it's not going to work that way. So there's a lot of intricacies into this one thing and knowing how much you need to eat. But the main thing is that you just need to be aware of what your goals are so that you know what direction you need to go in. If you are trying to lean out because you want to run that race faster, or you feel like you're going to be able to show up better for your hike or whatever competition you're doing, or maybe you're not doing a competition, but you just feel like a change in body composition is going to just make you feel more confident, which will help you bring more energy into this world, but you're already not eating enough, then it might have to work backwards. So that's something that we would definitely have to get into for your individuality. But just understanding that you're probably going to, depending on what route you want to take and what you feel works the best for you, getting in about 30% of your calories from protein. About, honestly, like I do like a cycling. So like some days it looks like I'm eating 40 to 50% of my calories from fats, like 30% from protein, and like 20 to 30% from carbs. But then sometimes it's like 50% from carbs, 30 from protein, and then 20 from fat. So, yes, that is how much. But that's the first step, is figuring out like how much you actually need to be at currently with your TDEE. And there's a lot that goes into that. So just make sure you use the calculator if you get confused. That's what me as a coach is here for. And just understanding that you can play around with those ratios. You can play around with your carb and fat ratios. Generally, if you're following the rule that I gave you in step 4 with the amount of protein that you should be eating, then that's a pretty set number, regardless of how much, how many calories you're eating or how much you're taking away. Like, you should keep that protein pretty consistent at a certain number based on your weight and your volume of blood. Not that you have to figure out the volume of blood thing, just go by like the 1 gram per pound of body fat or body weight. But yeah, so those are the 7 frameworks and the 7 steps that you need to take so that you can start to take control of your life, take control of your energy, your vitality, the way that you actually show up in the world. So again, step 1, self-awareness. Being aware of how much you're eating, how much you're drinking, what is the quality of those things that you're putting in your body. Step 2 is going to be self-awareness around how those things are actually making you feel inside, how it's making you show up in the world. Is it helping you, guiding you towards those goals of being more energetic, more vibrant, and more in control, or is it hindering you? Step 3 is going to be the quality of your water, making sure you're getting in enough, making sure you remember that water is love, water is gratitude. The more that you feed that information into your water, the more it's going to feed it back into you. And the more that it's going to help heal you. Literally, I've seen people just heal from changing their water alone. Step 4, making sure you're eating enough protein, making sure that protein is high quality, making sure you know how much you need to be eating at every meal. Even if that means for the first couple of weeks when you're doing this, you're like planning out every single meal in advance for a week at a time, so that you know, like, I need to hit this amount of and this is the raw weight, so this is the cooked weight. Done. Then we are moving on to cutting out those seed oils, making sure the circles fit into the square holes. Circle, peg, square hole. No, we want circle, peg, into circle hole. And then making sure we are addressing our gut health, reducing body-wide inflammation by taking some of these steps above. So the quality of the water, cutting out the seed oils, quality protein, all matter a lot. Adding in some of those good gut foods for your gut health, but also taking out the things that are irritating it. Because no matter how much you put in, if you're not taking the stuff out that's making it feel bad, it's never going to stop feeling bad. And then just being aware and knowing how much you need to be eating to reach those goals, to fuel you properly, to bring that information of you and your vibrancy and your energy into the world. This was my framework for busy women who are also adventurous and want more energy, more vitality, and more control in their lives. That you want to take control, and this is the way to start via nutritional strategies. So I hope this was super helpful for you guys, and I can't wait to see you in further trainings.